Both the Victorian and federal governments are pushing the so-called tree change. The idea is to take pressure off capital cities and increase jobs in the regions. But in booming central Victoria, the strain seen on Melbourne services is being replicated. Kirsten Vaness reports.
I've never been homeless in my whole entire life, and it's been a very big battle. It's tested us as a family really severely, put a lot of pressure on me as a mum, and I still just can't believe we've ended up in this situation.
For the past 7 weeks, this 1970s caravan is where Rochelle Henderson and her 3 sons have called home. It's cramped, but it was her best option.
They mentioned tent to me at the housing mob in town, and I just went no.
She now lives in her friend's backyard, but over the last few months has shifted from caravan parks to motels to even living at the local showground. Here there's still room for a visiting circus, but the showground has recently become a refuge for those squeezed out of the rental market by the housing shortage.
We take a drive into the Bendigo Showgrounds, and there's a laundromat there, and we don't have to pay, so if we haven't got any money we can just go up there and do our washing, and that's where we shower, and also we use the toilet facilities there.
Darren Fisher has also lived at the showground and now lives in the Whipstick Forest just outside of Bendigo with his 15-year-old daughter.
It's not my daughter's fault, and I'm trying to make it feel like home, because I love my daughter dearly, and I just want her to try to feel a little bit special. So, yeah.
Community groups say the number of people in similar situations is growing as housing affordability worsens, and the rate of population growth across regional Victoria is not helping.
We're almost revisiting the period of the gold rush when we had obviously massive numbers of people moving into these cities. The rates of growth in most of our regional centres for the last decade or so have far exceeded growths in any previous periods except for those very early days.
The federal government announced last week it wants to grow regional areas. Data released 2 years ago shows many Victorian towns are already expecting strong population growth. By 2036, Geelong is predicted to reach more than 300,000 people, Bendigo close to 150,000, Ballarat 127,000 and 88,000 in Shepparton.
What we've found now is that population growth is actually driving jobs. It's estimated that around about 80% of all the jobs that have been created in regional centres now are really about servicing people.
But change is controversial. In Bendigo, Vic Roads and the council put out a draft road strategy, which includes a 4-lane road going straight through the heritage homes in the heart of Bendigo.
And that way, the council...
John Norrie has lived in Abbott Street for 25 years and is worried his 100-year-old home will be knocked down.
State Railway own X amount of land, they always hold, and 30 metres from that brings it up to about here somewhere. So
would your house have to go?
It would, I believe. So the flyover from McIver Road starts here, and that will go. If not, I would be left with a 3-metre concrete sound barrier on the edge of my veranda.
Homeowners in the area are making their opinions known by a display of red.
At this stage, it's only being a draft. It's out there for comment. Whether it's 300 or whether it's 30, the fact that there are houses potentially to be lost, I think, is something that we would be worried about as a council.
Bendigo is also looking at building up to increase density in the CBD.
I think Bendigo is maturing and finding that going up is not necessarily a bad thing.
Ken Marchingo from Bendigo's affordable housing service Haven is already building up in an effort to ease population pressures.
This notion of a 3-bedroom house and a quarter-acre block will be a faint, quaint notion that's been consigned to history for most people, I think.
And there's certainly no sign of population growth slowing in regional centres.
There seems to be a reduced level of out-migration. We've also got people shifting from rural areas, and quite clearly we're actually having net inflows into some of our regional centres from interstate.
That's precisely what's happening in nearby Castlemaine. Some are even migrating from overseas.
Here it's much more better than Hong Kong, more natural, more fresh air.
$8, please.
While many tree changes have come from Melbourne and other areas to build Castlemaine's artistic and foodie culture.
I have people coming in here on a regular basis who are looking for property that are coming from Melbourne. They wish to settle here.
And while there's harmony in the streets, some say this demographic change has caused some conflict.
There's certainly conflicts over environmental issues and obviously conflicts sometimes even over heritage issues. And I think country people are rather conservative and sometimes don't like people who move in and basically tell us how to run the town.
Castlemaine's popularity has also caused house prices to increase by 24.5% in 1 year, which is more than Melbourne's. With the National Population Strategy naming regional growth as a way of taking the pressure off the big cities, Victoria's regions need to be prepared.
We have to accept that with growth comes pain, but with no growth there's more pain. We can't have a hermetically sealed cocoon like a strange snow dome, where we protect ourselves from the rest of the world.
I think it's early days to see whether the new government has got any changed vision as far as the regions go. I think the fact that with the Deputy Premier as the Minister for Regional Development is an interesting initiative because it certainly puts it high on the agenda.